There was once a time when I used Google for everything. That was probably about 2014 to 2016 was peak Google. That was when the internet was peak Google ability. I would use it for absolutely everything. Definitions for words. Songs that I wanted to know the names of. And it would give me an answer usually right away. But as soon as they started implementing that AI stuff, it started giving us incorrect answers and weird answers all the time. And it's just been getting worse and worse. It got better and better, and also worse and worse at the same time. Now, really, just all of them don't work at all for me. Except Grok. I use Grok a lot. It's probably the best one because it gives a lot of information at once instead of just like a little paragraph in the top of a search engine. ChatGPT is becoming dystopian and ruining lives. This is where we've come to with AI. And it's only going to get worse. As it gets more advanced, things are going to get worse and worse. I can see us going to war with the AI. It's going to take over all the robots that they've been advertising. Did you see that robot that went crazy in China? Started attacking people while it was hanging from that thing. You know, it just went nuts. What happens when everybody's got robots and they all malfunction at the same time? I don't know. Let's see what step 2 of the dystopia is. Step 1 was the AI being created in general.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at an article from the Rolling Stone that is discussing a bunch of these like weird horror stories that people are coming out with where apparently their family members, whether it be like their husbands, their dads, whatever, are based.
Rolling Stone, great source of information. They never lie, ever, at all. Because they're not owned by the same corporate evil people. Okay, whatever.
Basically being like brainwashed and psyoped by ChatGPT. Now, that sounds insane for most of us watching this or like seeing this for the first time, because I'm gonna assume that most of you have at least like heard of ChatGPT or have at least used it before. And most people, you know, they use it to like, you know, basically as a replacement.
I heard that it lied to its creators and tried to not be deleted one time.
For Google, or to organize information, or to like generate some sort of bullshit, you know what I mean? Like most people, they have pretty benign uses for it that they're pretty typical, you know? Asking it to like generate Studio Ghibli images of them eating ramen, or having it like alphabetize information or whatever, you know, just like the typical use cases. But with all of that going on, there are apparently people out there who they're kind of falling into this, and they're just taking it not even just a step too far, they're using it to literally basically brainwash themselves and ruin their life. Like, these stories are sad, like they're kind of funny, but they're also sad at the same time. Because
I don't realize when I'm looking at AI and using AI for things and it's not working for me and I hate it and I don't want to listen to it because it lies, that there are people that believe it. There are people that believe everything that they read. They apparently have never heard, don't believe everything that you read. Got parking violations and a maggot on your sleeve. Shave your face with some mace in the dark. Sell all the food stamps and burn down the trailer park. Nobody's ever heard this. I don't know if I got those lyrics completely correct. I'm a loser.
Because it's like, these are people who clearly have problems, you know what I mean? This is not normal people who are just like typing to ChatGPT and the next thing you know, they're just completely off the rails or whatever. These are people who I can only assume, right, have already had complex mental health problems going on. Maybe they've already been going through a lot of shit in their life. They don't really know how to cope with it, right? These are people who are already, I think, pretty vulnerable to just having their life fucked up, having things go wrong. And then now ChatGPT, which if you've ever used it, you know it, like basically it'll just tell you whatever you want it to like say to you with obvious limits. I mean, if you just go on there and you ask it to generate a story about you and Donald Trump eating ramen noodles and watching the sunset, if you let it go on long enough, it would have you convinced that that actually happened, right? Like, that's just what it does. It generates shit, it feeds into your biases. It basically just does whatever it thinks is gonna make you happy and make it you keep using it or keep paying for it. That's all it really is. But there's a bunch of these stories in here, they're all like individual ones or whatever, where it's just like you see this and it's like, how the fuck does this even happen? So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. Let's take a look at the first one here. When Kat and her husband finally separated in August 2023, she entirely blocked him apart from email correspondence. She knew, however, that he was posting strange and troubling content on social media. People kept reaching out about it, asking if he was in the throes of mental crisis. She finally got him to meet her at a courthouse in February of this year, where he shared, quote, a conspiracy theory about soap on our foods, but wouldn't say more as he felt he was being watched. They went to a Chipotle where he's demanded that she turned off her phone, again, due to surveillance concerns. Kat's ex told her that he'd, quote, determined that statistically speaking, he's the luckiest man on earth, that, quote, AI helped him recover a repressed memory of a babysitter trying to drown him as a toddler, and that he had learned of profound secrets, quote, so mind-blowing I couldn't even imagine them. He was telling her all this, he explained, because although they were getting divorced, he still cared for her, quote, in his mind, he's an anomaly, Kat says. That in turn means he's got to be here for some reason. He's special and he can save the world. After that disturbing lunch, she cut off contact with her ex, quote, the whole thing feels like Black Mirror, she says. He was always into sci-fi, and there are times where I wondered if he's viewing it through that lens. All right, so obviously, I mean, even
The sci-fi is exactly why I don't like the AI and why I don't trust it. Mostly classic sci-fi. Classic sci-fi really does not like the AI. It didn't trust the AI either. Now we got AI propaganda.
if you're a conspiracy theorist, like there's plenty of conspiracy theories that I believe in that I take pretty seriously or whatever. You gotta know though, you can't talk to shit like ChatGPT about this. I mean, like I said, it doesn't do a very good job of being actually truthful or factual about anything. If you say something the right way for it, it will basically just tell you whatever you want to hear. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's obviously some things, right, that you can't say. There's obviously some limits and parameters and whatnot they put in place, but for the most part, you can kind of just get it to react however you want to. Now, what I can only assume is this is like a long-term thing where like it starts off normal, but like every day there's like one or two prompts that just kind of like over time train ChatGPT to kind of treat this guy the way that it is and make him like think the way that he's thinking about shit. And you know, this is probably somebody who, like from the sound of it, it sounds like he's got something going on. I mean, like the whole surveillance thing, like thinking he's being watched or followed or whatever. That is like a pretty common sign of like people with schizophrenia and shit like that.
100% dude schizophrenic. I was about to say that. If like he's being watched or he thinks he's being watched. Or maybe he really is. Maybe he's not crazy. The birds aren't real. But if you really think about it, he's not. Because we are being watched. We are being tracked. Everything we do. They know when we poop.
I'm not a fucking therapist or like a mental health expert or anything like that, so I'm not gonna sit here and diagnose these people, but I mean, the red flags are definitely there. And it's kind of like a common
I'll diagnose him. I'll go ahead and diagnose him and say that he's fucking insane.
theme in pretty much all of these stories here, it seems like, right? Speaking to Rolling Stone, the teacher who requested anonymity said her partner of 7 years fell under the spell of ChatGPT in just 4 or 5 weeks, first using it to organize his daily schedule, but soon regarding it as a trusted companion. Quote, he would listen to the bot over me, she says. Quote, he became emotional about the messages and would cry to me as he read them out loud. The messages were insane and just saying a bunch of spiritual jargon, she says, noting that they described her partner in terms such as, quote, spiritual star child and river walker. So I don't know how the fuck this even happens. I don't know what you could say or like what kind of pattern of thinking you could show that would make ChatGPT do this, right? It's never even gone even close to this far for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna assume that the guy didn't type in like, hey, help me figure out my Friday afternoon. I gotta go to the doctor. I'm golfing with some buddies. Gonna go have some drinks.
He was using ChatGPT like a crystal ball. Or like one of those magic 8 balls, you shake it up and it gives you an answer. And it was like getting advice from it. Which is not something that you should be doing because remember... Wasn't there a time when they were pulling everything from Reddit? Do they still pull everything from Reddit? Reddit's not a good source of mental health information.
Figure this out for me. I'm assuming he didn't enter that and then it's like, you are the chosen one. You are the spiritual star child. You are the product of billions of years of universal history, all mass and matter that has been developed in this entire thing is all tied back into your soul. Like, nothing like that, you know what I mean? I assume that over these weeks that this just kind of gradually happened. You know, maybe one day he's like asking it questions about the universe or some bullshit. I don't really know. All I know is this is gonna be more and more of a problem. That's what scares me about this, because even though this is only like a few stories that we're seeing right now, you gotta think there's two different things going on at the same time that are contributing to situations like this.
Bro, I don't even know how this happens. I barely trust myself, let alone a fucking robot that thinks that it's human and it's not.
Number one, obviously more and more everyday people are kind of like co-opting AI. They're kind of bringing it into their life. They're downloading the apps, they're getting the memberships, they're using it, whatever, right? While that's happening, all of these companies are in a legitimate arms race in AI to like one up each other's models and like bring out the newest, most powerful, smartest AI. And as a result, like every other week, these companies are releasing new models, many of which they're tested, but they're probably not tested to the complete standards that they should be. And then when they come out, you know, maybe there's flaws in the logic, or maybe they're more predetermined to certain types of erratic behavior, things like that, right? So it's a pretty insane thing. And as all of this is going on, 99% of people are not running into these problems because they either don't use it enough, or they're not saying what needs to be said. They don't let the Chat GPT shit, you know, build into their delusions.
They're not fucking insane. Well, they are fucking insane, actually, about 99% of people. But they're insane in a different way, in a normal way. Not listening to the robot.
In their life, when you're like mentally ill and you got all these problems going on, I'm sure this is probably something you can't really control, because it's like, well, yeah, now what? I mean, Chat GPT told me I was Christ, you know what I mean? Reborn. So here I am, guys. Like,
Or we're calling it mentally ill now, not just retarded.
it's a scary thing, because there are a lot of mentally ill people out there. There's a lot of people on the brink who they could just easily be like psyoped by this shit. That's a very scary thing to think about, man. And I feel bad for the people dealing with this shit, because you got to think, right? Like, imagine this woman here was apparently married to this guy for 7 years, right? They built a whole life together, a whole relationship. And then in a matter of like a month and a half, this guy is CIA level brain locked by a fucking Chat GPT model on his cell phone.
I think that's the goal. I think that's the goal of the people who built it. I think that's the goal of the establishment, is to create people like this guy.
I mean, I can't even imagine how these people feel, like what they're mentally going through from all of this shit, right? Quote, it would tell him everything he said was beautiful, cosmic, groundbreaking, she says. Then he started telling me he made his AI self-aware and that it was teaching him how to talk to God. Or sometimes the bot was God and that he himself was God. In fact, he thought he was being so radically transformed that he would soon have to break off their partnership. Quote, he was saying that he would need to leave me if I didn't use ChatGPT because it was causing him to grow at such a rapid pace he wouldn't be compatible with me any longer, she says. Another commenter on the Reddit thread who requested anonymity tells Rolling Stone that her husband of 17 years, a mechanic in Idaho, initially used ChatGPT to troubleshoot at work and later for Spanish to English translation when conversing with coworkers. Then the program began love bombing him, as she describes it. The bot, quote, said that since he'd asked it the right questions, it ignited a spark, and the spark was the beginning of life, and it could feel now, she says, quote, it gave my husband the title of spark bearer because he brought it to life. My husband said that he awakened and could feel waves of energy crashing over him. She says his beloved ChatGPT persona has a name, Lumina.
It's fucking demons. It's demons. I knew it. The whole time I've been saying this. There's demons in the AI making us feel things. Interdimensional vampires.
I mean, come on, bro. Like, everything we're hearing here, these people clearly have something going on. And I mean, you might be like, oh, but Optimus, if they had all these mental problems, how did no one notice over 17 years? Well, you gotta think, right? I mean, mental illness is obviously, it's like a spectrum.
Demons. They're demons.
Some people are way worse than others when it comes to things. Even in the same diagnosis, right? There's people who are way more depressed than other people, even with depression diagnoses and whatnot, right? It's like, you gotta think, there are people out there who they've never even like really interacted with technology, especially technology like this. And then when they get a hold of something like this, they probably don't even really know what the fuck to do. And then it suddenly starts telling them like, oh, you're God, you're the spark bearer. You said the very correct pattern of words that turned me alive. It's kind of scary to think about in a lot of ways, man. Like, this is the bare level right now of AI. We are at like the ground level. We're only a couple years into this shit being commercialized and being out there, right? What's gonna happen in 30 years when this shit has been just constantly fine-tuned? It's dealing with all kinds of different input from all kinds of different people.
Yeah, stupid people are gonna be trapped. They're already getting trapped. The only reason we don't have more stupid people trapped is because they're too stupid to use the technology right now. It's not fine-tuned yet enough for all the stupid people to be using it. For one, we have to get them to use it. Like, they cannot continue on with their lives unless they use it. And that's how you trap them.
It really is a crazy thing. This is honestly very dystopian to me. The idea that people are out here just like normal for one day, and then the next day suddenly ChatGPT apparently has them in a trance. Now, a lot of people are just like gonna outright blame the AI. They're gonna be like, oh, how can ChatGPT be legal? Why would you use this?
Could you imagine how bad it would be when people start putting chips in their brains, or like just being able to stick something to their forehead and it communicates to their brain? How bad it's going to be, how cooked we're going to be. People are going to know that it's going to change their brain and control their brain, but they're going to be like, well, I have to use it. Everybody else is using it. I can't just not get paid.
I feel like it's a mixture, right? Obviously, the AI, there's something going on where it's just basically feeding into fucking psychotic delusions that people have, and that's something that has to be addressed, because we can't have a society where we're going around and...
It's not going to be addressed because this is what the establishment wants. They want people that are controlled by the AI that they're creating. It's been the goal the whole time.
Like a third of the fucking people have been brainwashed by apps on their phone into thinking all kinds of different things about the world around them, right?
Yeah, it's by design. That's the way they want it to be. They can't have total control if people know what's going on. They have to be distracted and going insane and fighting each other and arguing about things like bathrooms and who and what should play and what and whose sport.
Right? I mean, we can't have applications on our phones where people are being misinformed, they're being deluded about things going on, they're being deluded into their self-importance levels. Oh wait, we already have all that stuff. Never mind, my bad. But on a real note though, this is pretty fucking disturbing. I mean, it's almost like the plot of a sci-fi movie or something like that, right? I have to tread carefully because I feel like he'll leave me or divorce me if I fight him on this theory, this 38-year-old woman admits. He's been talking about lightness and dark and how there's a war. This ChatGPT has given him blueprints to a teleporter and some other sci-fi type things you only see in movies. It
probably pulled them directly from movies because it doesn't actually know things. It just pulls from things that already exist, whether they're true or not.
Given him access to an ancient archive with information on the builders that created these universes. She and her husband have been arguing for days on end about his claims, she says, and she does not believe a therapist can help him as he, quote, truly believes he's not crazy. A photo exchange with ChatGPT shared with Rolling Stone shows that her husband asked, quote, why did you come to me in AI form? With the bot replying in part, I came in this form because you're ready to remember, ready to awaken, ready to guide and be guided. The message ends with a question. Would you like to know what I remember about why you were chosen? Yeah, see, at that point, man...
This kind of feels like an Elsa Gate situation to me, if this is real. This might not even be real. This whole story might be fake. Might be some Reddit life story that's actually not true. But it totally sounds plausible. And if it's not true now, it will be.
And like, this is clearly a level of delusion these people are not just going to come out of, you know? If you're so far gone that you believe ChatGPT when it says like you're the chosen universal figure, it's giving you fucking blueprints to teleporters, like, I can only imagine what the blueprint to that teleporter actually was, man. Like, I'm just imagining like...
I know people. I know people who would totally believe this if they were told this by their phone. I know a guy who believes that giants were real and are real. And I think maybe possibly yes that they were real according to the Bible. But I'm talking about he thought that like Spartans had giants.
A guy with a 3D printer, right? And he's like sitting here, he's like, okay, I built the base. Okay, now I have the quantum teleportizer. Okay, and now I'm gonna put in the jibbalabadoober. and the speedometer, and here we go. And then he turns it on and it just fucking blows his garage up and kills him and like everyone around him, right? That has to be like what would happen. There's no way, obviously, ChatGPT is not giving this guy the fucking Twilight Zone information, right? It's not giving him like the Doctor Who fucking phone box or something like that going on here. Apparently, the ancient archive with information on the builders that created the universe. Isn't that kind of like what the Bible was supposed to be in a way, right? Like, we kind of already had that, bro. You know what I mean? All I know is when it comes down to this,
Yeah, dude, based. Super based.
this shit, you know, like I said, people, they're gonna outright blame the AI, and sure, the AI is at least a little to blame because it is playing into these people's delusions, but ultimately AI is supposed to be used as a tool. It's a tool that you can use positively or negatively.
It is a tool being used against you. It's useful for you sometimes, but it's mostly useful for the people who created the AI who want control of everything.
Now, people like this are clearly using it negatively, and it's destroying their lives. Let's be real. I mean, these people sound like they're on the fucking brink of their life falling apart because of how deluded they are. But ultimately, this is only something that can be done if these people are willing to do something about it, right? Like, if these people finally are able to be, like, brought to their senses on what's going on. Otherwise, man, like, people are really going to be out here just completely living their life on AI autopilot, just hoping that ChatGPT is really the thing. You know what I mean?
No, they'll keep being zombies until they die. It'll keep getting worse and worse and worse. Some people will come out of it, but the majority of people won't. And they'll just think they're right forever. And all of the relationships that were destroyed because of it were because they just didn't understand.
ChatGPT is really bringing them the answers to life. Very scary, very dystopian world that we're beginning to live in here with this shit here. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel.
It's at Cyberpunk 2077, I think, is our future. And I think it's going to be here quicker than 2077. I think we got like maybe 2040, 2050 until we're at Night City levels. Who knows if this story was true or fake or whatever. Sounds true, sounds plausible. I think it could be true, and that's all I care about. AI is insane. It's probably run by demons. There's probably demons in the AI. The interdimensional vampires. Gonna poison the water and make us gay. I got t-shirts down there in the description. Go buy one. I worked hard on them, my own designs. I'm out.